Hello beautiful beloveds and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to make a quick video addressing this topic on whether or not I teach tantric sex. And this is a really big topic for me because it actually goes back to the reason why I'm an online teacher and I am online on these platforms. So my path is Tantra. And this path is non-dual Shaiva Tantra. This is where I found my purpose in life. This is the path that I most resonate with. I traveled all around the world for many years. I've been to 65 countries now. I went on like a huge search for my path, for a religion or a culture or something that resonated with me the most. And this is the one that I found that I felt was already within me. And once I started reading it and studying it, it was like all this knowledge was already ingrained inside of me and it was just being woken back up. This path, when I discovered it, I was already in the East. I was living in Asia I'm 29 now, so I lived in Asia for most of my 20s. And I had never heard of Tantra being used in a different way other than non-dual Shaiva Tantra. And I started dating an American last year, so I came back to North America and I thought, oh, maybe there's a temple around here. And then I Googled it and basically like massage parlors came up and different sexual related things came up. And I have made videos on this before, but I'm bringing this up now because I'm about to host some retreats and some workshops, and I'm getting a lot of people messaging me that they want to know more about Tantra and if these will be tantric workshops. And I'm also doing some workshops specifically on sexual empowerment and sexual union. So when I came back to the West, I realized that the name of Tantra has been really changed over here. And I'm not trying to say that this is a bad thing, but I also don't want the roots of traditional Tantra to be confused with this other path, which is really, if you've seen my other videos on Tantra, I explain this, that Tantra embraces everything in this physical existence, which includes sex. So just like how sex is a part of life, it's a pretty big part, but it's not the whole part, so it's a part of Tantra. But this is not the whole part, of course. It's celebrated over here so strongly because really it's a beautiful thing that it's celebrated, because there's so many paths that are really suppressing the sexual energy and disconnecting us from it, and also teaching us that it's a bad thing, which disconnects us from our bodies. And that's why we're treating our bodies so poorly in society. Just look at obesity rates and addiction rates. We have this disconnect that a lot of other paths, it can come from that. It's one of the factors, is the disconnect from our sexuality and from our own bodies. So it's only natural that we want to celebrate the fact that there's this amazing, beautiful philosophy of life, this path, that is okay with our sexuality. Like, that's an amazing thing. But it's just not to be confused with the only thing. So my path, I will say that the teacher in it, my guru, who I never really get to meet because he's already passed on from this physical, he left his body years ago, is Swami Lakshman Jew. If you want to dive deep into traditional tantric philosophy, I would recommend his work. And also, I always recommend Christopher Wallace, who has 2 books on non-dual Shaiva Tantra. He's translated a lot of ancient texts, and he does a really amazing job at it. He also has work online, so I definitely, if you want to dive into traditional Tantra. If someone asks me what would you recommend I read or do if I want to follow a tantric path, then I have to ask, what is Tantra to you? And the majority of them want better relationships, better sex. And when I first came to the West and I saw this, I was originally a bit upset, and then I was really, like, sexual energy has been a big part of my life. If you've followed me and you've seen some of my more personal videos, I was around the sex industry for a while. So I went from a lifestyle and an environment that really did not promote healthy sexual energy, sexual perception, and I went from a very unhealthy way of thinking about my own sexuality to this transition that took years into discovering my power and discovering my sexual power and learning how to embody that and learning how to make healthier choices when it comes to that. So as you can imagine, I do have experience on this topic, and I really love to help women especially come from, point A to B that I've gone through and experienced myself very deeply. But I was shying away from this part for a while because I didn't like the confusion with Tantra. And I do call myself a Tantra Yoga teacher. I don't feel qualified enough to call myself a Tantra teacher in the sense of traditional Tantra, because I think even if I spent this whole lifetime, I still wouldn't be comfortable with that, because it is one of the deepest philosophies on this planet. And to have a true traditional teacher or guru is, it's difficult to find right now, so I'm not trying to claim that. So I say Tantra Yoga, which to me means yoga from a tantric perspective. So now I'm really feeling called to share more of this sexual aspect with people, and especially women, and hold these women retreats and women's workshops. When I do these sexual workshops, I don't call them tantric workshops, just because I don't think I can call them that, because everything I'm doing is from a tantric perspective, because that's my philosophy on life. But I don't like to call it tantric sex or saying that it's the same thing. So I don't know if that makes sense. There's a lot of confusion, but I just felt, because I'm getting so many messages lately on the subject of tantric sex, and I just like to always clear that up, because I feel like my purpose and my intention for teaching online is really because sometimes it's difficult for me. It's not easy to follow a practice and be online all the time and be exposed to social media pretty much all day, and all these things are pretty difficult. But what makes me balanced and feel okay about doing this is that I really want to share what traditional Tantra is, and I want to share what traditional yoga is. And things are always going to change through the years and through different cultures, of course. Some of the essence of these amazing, amazing, life-changing philosophies should definitely still be respected, and I think that they have the power to really transform our lives, more so than going to a hot yoga class and being able to do the splits and calling yourself a yogi. There's so much more to it, and so much more to these systems. And honestly, I am just a student who's sharing my experiences. To call myself a teacher is basically just a label that I feel I need to use in order to share these teachings, but I always see myself more as a student, and my personal teachings are always blossoming into all these different new things and new paths on its own. I'm now teaching a lot of self-love and a lot of sexual empowerment now. One, because I feel like I'm called to do this, and I also read all your messages, or at least as many as I possibly can, and I listen to what I feel I can deliver and help you the most with. So lately I have been receiving a lot on the topics of sex, so that is why I might, if you see my future videos soon, it might be going, I started the Sensual Saturdays. You may see in my upcoming videos that I'm focusing a little bit more on that, maybe relationships and sensuality and sexuality, and just to make it known that there is this huge, amazing path, and if you're open and ready for these traditional paths, that I would really encourage you to follow them more deeply. I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions at all, just comment below and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. I will be making a lot more videos soon, especially on the topics of traditional yoga and tantra. Thank you so much for watching. Sat Nam.